I'm not ready to go yet, okay? I'm not ready. You gotta wait. I got shit to do. I'm in the middle of something, all right? Just hold on.
Watch your mouth or don't come in here.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah, people, come on, we're adults here.
You know what? What is the point?
Yeah, we're adults here. I got a fucking Burger King fucking thing on my head. We're all fucking adults here, guys. People, in my chat, 2 words. What are they? 2 words. Let me see the chat flood. Let me see the chat flood. 2 words. Okay, next caller. Please. Let's get into the meat and potatoes, which translate in American to dick and balls.
I got flip-flops. These are my flip-flops. Yeah, I really like my flip-flops because I can put them on. Because look, watch me put them on. I can put them on all by myself. Watch me put them on. Look, are you watching? Look, these are my flip-flops.
Thanksgiving Day. I remember it clearly. It was Thanksgiving Day. I was inserting myself in somebody else's fucking business as a cash grab, and you know.
This channel is harsh reality.
Karen Yak se jodió la sucia vida. Amen.
This is Jonathan Lee Riches. I have cheeseburgers. I'm gonna put cheese on them. I'm gonna make sure that I have my hamburgers because I'm a big boy now and I can make the hamburgers. My mom lets me use the stove now.
And I'm just like, wow, I like receipts, and they brought receipts. Like they had evidence to back up everything they said. And I'm like, okay, well, there's got to be another side to this, right? Like, this can't. No, this is too fantastic.
Yeah, because you're not going to just jump to the conclusion that there's a conspiracy amongst cops to cover up a murder. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, cops and just like soccer moms and shit. Like, that's what made it even crazier. Like,
yeah, get it, Betty. Yeah,
did you have a close relationship with your mom?
Get it, Betty.
Oh, of course, I still do.
Yeah.
My older sister was kind of sad. She was more of the prissy girl, like
that is the best shit fucking
shopping for the dresses with mommy. I was the tomboy that liked playing with the kids.
Shout out to Cherry for just being easily the most faithful and loyal supporter that I've ever had. That someone could have that tenacity with loyalty. And I'm really blessed to have someone like Cherry be part of this channel and in my life. So it means a lot. And yes, I named him after Mr. T and Rocky. Say, woman. Say, woman. Say, woman. Since your old man ain't got no heart, why don't you come down to my apartment tonight and I'll show you a real man. Oh my God, I'm so in love with this little dude. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this one up. I love you guys very, 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 very much. And we will do this again very soon, my friends. Oh, say bye. Say bye. Oh, I love you too. Give me a kiss. Oh, I love you. Bye, guys.
Karen left
Una hierba, amén. Y que me es una come pinga, amén. Woo! Welcome, people. Good afternoon. It's good to see you guys. Listen, we're going to talk about that in a second. We're going to talk about old Ick and Mel in just a second because I know he loves it. I'm here to please. Oh, before I do, yes, you guys might notice I'm drinking out of a flashy, stylish new cup. If you can see that there, that's my face imposed on Tarantino's, and I buy the gourmet expensive shit. It's in the merch, and you can own one yourself. That's good gourmet shit. Anyway, so it's been a busy day. It's been a busy day. I spent most of the day going back and forth with a creator who goes by the name of Ick and Mel. I'll give you guys a little history on this guy. Some of you guys know who he is. And some of you guys know who he is based on just his coverage of the John O'Keefe Karen Reed case, or I should say the lack thereof. Because let's face it, Ick and Mel actually doesn't really cover cases. I've always been really nice because I like the guy. I thought he was like a nice guy. I was fooled by the image that he tries to portray himself as on his channel. Mr. I'm drama free and blah, blah, blah. I don't get involved in these sort of things. And really all he does is just sit there and read articles. And once in a while, though, he does like live police chases, which I think is pretty cool. I do enjoy those. That's actually a really good idea for content because I enjoy them. But now here's the thing. Yeah, Cherry tried to tell me with an umbrella emoji. So here's the thing is I felt that this case was so important to be out in the public. Again, I'm not in any competition with anyone as far as covering this case. As a matter of fact, all of us who have been covering this case, who believe Karen Reed to at least be, her rights are being violated. Let's just say that. Maybe they may not be totally convinced that she's completely innocent, but they'll at least entertain the fact that her rights are being violated. This is not how you conduct a murder investigation, and she's being railroaded. Absolutely 100%. And we've all managed to maintain a very good rapport with each other. And I enjoy that. I like having I wouldn't call it an alliance necessarily. We're all independent creators here. But I do like those of us sharing a passion for something such as an innocent woman being charged and tried for a crime that she didn't commit. We all tend to have this passion to expose this, and I love that. I like that there is no competition between us, and because the issue itself needs more eyes. I like the idea of getting creators who I like to try to talk about it. And especially creators who have a large following. Now, if you ask me why does Ick and Mel have like 200,000 subscribers, I couldn't tell you. I have no idea. I guess there's 200,000 fucking morons out there who are just entertained by watching paint dry. That's between them and Ickadmel. I don't really care about that. But nevertheless, it's still a large platform. And I've tried to talk to him about this case. I offered, as I did with Duty Ron, I offered to send, as a matter of fact, with Duty Ron, I did send all of the information. But I offered to send Ickadmel the information, and he just kind of ignored it. Just kind of like, yeah, I know you've been really covering this case there, Glare, when he sees me in his chat. And I'm just like, okay, well, I'm not looking for fucking recognition, dude. I want you to fucking look over the case and cover it. Because, you know, if all of those people that were watching me would have gravitated over there simply because he had more subscribers, because of what's being discussed is so important to me, I would have saw that as a win. I would have absolutely seen this as a win. I do not consider people who are talking about the same things as I am as people within competition with me. I just don't see it that way. Not when it's something that I genuinely feel passionate about. So Ickadmel decided at one point, I guess, to start talking about the case. And I think what he did was I know what happened. I know exactly what happened. He was too lazy to do the research. He thought it was a cut and dry case. He assumed it was a cut and dry case of, okay, woman killed her boyfriend with her SUV. He happened to be a police officer, and she hired good lawyers, and she's trying to get away with it. Okay, fine. That's lazy true crime. That's just plain fucking lazy. Because all you have to do is look over the documents that are publicly available and have been for nearly 2 years. Publicly available documents. In this case, he could have reviewed them and been like, okay, my mind's not made up yet, but there's more to this story than just woman hits police officer boyfriend with their car and now she's trying to get away with it. There's a hell of a lot more to it. And I tried to tell certain people about this, and I did reach out to creators who I like and respect. And then this happened on more than one occasion, not just with Ickadmel. This also happened with what is this fucking name? Bill Cannon from Police Off the Cuff. This happened with Duty Ron. Oh, the merch is down. Of course it is. That's what happens see what happens, Cherry? That's what happens when I actually try to sell it. Okay, so just stop telling me and getting mad at me when I don't sell it, because it's not in the cards, Cherry. It's not in the cards. Okay, I'm not supposed to sell this stuff. I'm supposed to sell itself. Okay, I'm supposed to just be happy and grateful with whatever sales we naturally generate from that, instead of coming on here trying to shill it, because look what happens. Then the universe decides to smack me upside the head, and then it shuts down the site. So anyway, so then Ickadmel decided to start running his mouth about Karen Reed being guilty, right? He started covering the trial, and he had a pussy fit. I mean, I don't even know what else to call it. He had a fucking pussy fit because he wasn't getting any views. This is a guy who's used to getting 1,000 plus people on average when he's covering a trial. And in the YouTube true crime community, Ickadmel's channel was one of the places to go and watch a trial until this trial, because turned out that it's not as simple as he made it out to be. It's not as simple as he was counting on it being, because somebody with his limited brain capacity figured that it was just simply, she did it, she's trying to get away with it, cut and dry, plain and simple. But unfortunately, it's not that simple, and the trial proved this. Now, the documentation that I sent him, or at least I tried to direct him to dictated this prior to the trial. But let's just say the trial did this. The trial solidified this. Okay? And then he acted like his excuse was, well, if Turtle Boy is the one who investigated this stuff and uncovered it, well, then I don't like people who dox people. So I don't like Turtle Boy. So therefore, Karen Reed is guilty. This is what he says. But meanwhile, Ick and Mel is rubbing elbows and sorry, not rubbing elbows, crawling up the anal crevice of Jonatalia Lee Riches. So this is just the kind of level that he thinks on. He thinks on terms of subscriber count. I mean, if I thought on terms of subscriber count, I would have double the subscribers as he has, because let's face the facts, Ick Mel is just plain fucking boring. I mean, he brings nothing to the table. He is an absolute and total fucking rag show. That's it. That's all he is. He's nothing. Now, since I called him out on the fact that he just simply didn't do any research and he was trash talking about things that he didn't know anything about, and I called him out on this, he decides to go the usual troll route, which is, you're a woman beater and a child beater and blah, blah, blah. You kick dogs and blah, 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 and all the other fucking stupid fucking rumors that you hear about me through these morons. Now, I have addressed some of these things. Mandolin Win, thank you for gifting a membership. I have addressed some of these things. But here's the thing is I don't care what rumors are flying around about me. I mean, they've been around forever. I got doxxed fucking years ago. I don't give a shit. But I invited him on the channel to discuss these things. For him, I will address these rumors, because he's like, why don't you address this? Why don't you address this? You're a woman beater. You're a child beater. Why don't you address this? Why don't you address this? Okay, well, I invited him here, and all he did all day long was dodge me. All day long. All he did was whine and bitch and dodge and avoid. Ick and Mel, please tell everyone here that this is not the real Ick and Mel. Please tell us there's more to you than this spineless twat who writes checks that his vagina can't cash. Please tell us there's more to you than this. Because the fact of the matter is that Ick and Mel's, he knows that there's no proof behind any of the accusations that he's throwing at me. B, he also knows that everything I'm saying about him is absolutely true. Everything that I'm saying about Ick and Mel and his channel is absolutely true. Ick and Mel has no fucking idea what he's talking about when he covers a case. And I challenge him to come on this channel and explain to me and prove to me why Karen Reed is guilty of this crime. And in exchange, I will address these completely and totally pointless bullshit rumors that mean nothing to anybody. Happy to do it. But the fact is that he's too much of a coward. I mean, it's just that simple. He's just too much of a coward. So, after a while on Twitter, I got sick of the exchange. The exchange consisted of him saying things about, and reposting the same post over and over again. It was really weird. reposting the same post over and over again, and dodging me and my invite to bring him up here. I mean, here's what really gets me. Ikadmel, B Tim had the balls to come up here, dude. Fucking B Tim. The B stands for bitch in this community. Nobody has any respect for that dude. He's a twat. He's a fucking ignorant retard. And yet he still had the testicular fortitude to come up here. Even though he did rage quit like the bitch that he is, he still came up here. And I think he knew he was going to rage quit. But see, here's the thing is, like, even if you know you're going to rage quit, bro, like, what do you have to lose then? If you know you're going to come up here and rage quit, then just come up here and rage quit. At least have the balls to come up here. Because I'll tell you, no, it doesn't gain me any clout just because you have a bunch of fucking a bunch of subscribers who don't give a shit one way or the other. Like if you disappeared for a month, nobody's going to be like, oh my God, where's Ikadmel? Nobody really cares. You're a fucking regurgitated fucking generic product. You're a reprint of a fucking knockoff is what you are. So, I mean, what's the problem? And if you guys want to, like, if follow me on Twitter, if you guys actually want to follow this exchange, because here's the thing, Ikadmel, is you're acting like you're saving yourself some sort of embarrassment by I'm not going to engage. I'm not going to, tarnish my YouTube persona, but I'll do the same shit with the same name under fucking Twitter and act like it's all good. I don't want to tarnish my name on YouTube, but I'll act like a fucking twat all over Twitter with the same name because that makes sense. So, yeah, dude, like, go crawl under a fucking rock or, come up here. One or the other, bro, because I've never seen anybody look more stupid on Twitter, like, all day. I've never seen that shit. Not nearly as bad. But I mean, if you want to go out like that, that's up to you, dude. So if everybody wants to see Ikadmel's last hurrah as far as what's going on in the Karen Reed case, just follow my Twitter and go check it out, because this is the essence of the great Ikadmel. So anyway, what we're going to do today, and this is going to continue. I'm going to do this for a while. Yesterday, I went over some testimony from the Karen Reed trial that had already taken place. And I went over the Brian Higgins stuff. Now, Brian Higgins, in my personal opinion, had the most motive, and actually has the most circumstantial evidence against him. That would be someone who as if we're considering who did these things to Boston police officer John O'Keefe and was responsible for his death. It's got to be somebody inside 34 Fairview, since we've already established that it was not Karen Reed. So then, I mean, it had to have been somebody inside 34 Fairview. And out of all the people inside 34 Fairview, all of the circumstantial evidence, in my opinion, points directly at Brian Higgins. So if you're asking me, who do I think did it, based on, and it's just opinion, okay, based on the facts that are circumstantial, by the way, I want to be very clear about that, based on the facts that are, make no mistake, circumstantial, but based on those facts, I have formed the opinion that Brian Higgins is the most likely person to have killed John O'Keefe. So, Now, this thing is great, but my coffee gets cold a lot quicker than my Jackson Yannetti thing that I got from Suzanne while I was in Boston. So yeah, I'm definitely leaning towards Brian Higgins. Now, we went over his testimony yesterday, or at least his cross-examination. I won't do that every single time, I'll basically do that most times. What I won't do every single time is go over the entire testimony, meaning the direct examination and then the cross-examination. I'm going to stick with cross-examination for the most part, because we all know how the direct examination went. Yeah, it was snowing. Yeah, you found pieces of taillight. Got it. Okay. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go over Michael Proctor's cross-examination, and there will be commentary, and I will be pausing it, and we're going to discuss this stuff, because I still have questions, and if we're going to be going into a new trial, it's going to be really interesting. This is another reason why I am going over Michael Proctor's testimony today, because one fun fact about Michael Proctor is that Michael Proctor is currently under internal affairs investigation and suspended without pay. Now, everyone else in his circle, in his team of investigators that worked the Boston police officer John O'Keefe homicide, well, they're under internal affairs investigation as well. I wonder why that is. So we're going to go over this stuff with a new set of eyes, considering these things. And yeah. Now, I did speed it up because, I don't want to be here all night. I still got to go to the gym. I got things to do. But I did speed it up. So we will, again, I'm still going to be pausing it here and there and adding some commentary. So
videos for a second, but shift gears to ring video footage. You've already testified that there were several hundred ring videos from One Meadows from both facing the driveway and front door camera, correct?
Yes.
As the case officer, you obtained and control those ring videos from One Meadows from the moment that they came into Massachusetts State Police custody until they were handed over to Commonwealth, correct?
Yes, they were archived.
You drafted the search warrant for the ring video access records, correct?
I did.
You obtained the warrant returns once those search warrants were executed, correct?
I did.
You took possession of Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone physically, correct?
Yes.
You had access to Mr. O'Keefe's Ring account in that cell phone. Is that right?
Correct.
You indicated that you reviewed several of the videos on his Ring app on his cell phone. Is that right?
Yes.
So you obviously had not only possession of his cell phone, you had possession of his login account information to get into the app on his cell phone. Is that right?
I don't think we had the password. We had his email account associated with the Ring.
Which means
but you got into the fucking, see what I mean right there? That's a red flag. The question is, the fact that you're trying to dance your way around it, the question is basically, were you able to get into his Ring camera app? I mean, it's real simple, because you're trying to say that Karen Reed was the only person with access when one of John O'Keefe's nieces or nephews, I'm not sure which one, got up on the stand. They shouldn't have been called up there to testify in the first place. They've been through enough, more than enough. And yet they were called onto the stand to testify in his murder trial. Great going there, Lally. And the next thing you know, Lally is basically implying that Karen Reed is the only one with access, even though his niece and or nephew testified that Karen didn't have access to it. Karen never accessed the Ring camera stuff. So there goes that right there. And yet the Ring camera was still tampered with. There was footage that was deleted. So who could have done it? Could it be the woman who actually has absolutely no evidence against her and has a sterling reputation as a tax-paying citizen of Norfolk County in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts? Or could it be the Massachusetts State Police officer who is currently under internal affairs investigation, who is outed in this very cross-examination for sending during direct examination, sending inappropriate text messages to his co-workers and his superiors in regards to a witness and a suspect in a crime. Someone who it was proven was looking for nudes of this person. And I don't even, if I can avoid it, I mean, if it comes up while I'm talking about it, but I'd rather not go over everything that he said over and over again. I don't think it's necessary. But if it comes up naturally, it comes up naturally, and we'll go over it. But you get the idea. Someone who is suspended without pay from being a Massachusetts State Police officer, who would be more likely? Someone who conducted an investigation and just failed to even apply the concept of chain of custody when it came to the evidence. So who's more credible here? Who's more likely to be the person to delete this footage from the Ring camera? This guy who has access to it and has this stellar reputation that I just went over, the stellar record that he's obtained as a Massachusetts police officer just in the last few months. And or the person who is being charged with a crime and the evidence was collected against by this person and who was a stand-up individual, an outstanding member of the community, a college professor, educated, known to people as kind, generous. She's going to go and do this, right? Because that makes a lot of sense, right? She's going to delete the Ring camera footage. I don't think so. If we're trying to figure out who did it, my money's on the dirt bag.
Some way or another, you could get access to the Ring videos.
Correct.
And watch those Ring videos on his app on the phone.
Yes.
Which means you had full access to the app. You could keep videos. You could save for later. You could delete videos. You could do anything you wanted to within that app, correct?
Yes, those are the capabilities within that app.
Trooper Proctor, did you delete any of the Ring videos ever from John O'Keefe's phone?
Absolutely not.
You're a fucking
Did you delete a video of Miss Reed arriving to One Meadows at approximately 12:41 a.m. on January 29th, 2022?
Absolutely not.
You will agree, Trooper Proctor, that the video of Miss Reed returning home from 34 Fairview at approximately 12:41 a.m. is not there.
Correct.
As the case officer, you're aware that Trooper Chico also reviewed some or all of those videos, correct?
Yes.
And he did that at your request.
Correct.
He took notes of his review of those videos, correct?
Yes.
And then he provided those notes to you so that you could then memorialize those notes and your notes in a broader report that you then drafted in November of 2022, correct?
If memory serves me, the report I wrote regarding the Ring camera was based off my observations of the videos that I had watched.
But you certainly did have, as you just indicated, you did accumulate his notes and review his notes as well as your own notes, correct?
Best of my recollection, I wrote that report off of my notes.
Did you actually, at any point before writing your report, did you note or did you review his notes?
I can't recall.
You asked him, he reviewed the videos at your directions, correct? At
Yes.
your direction, correct?
Yes.
And obviously he would have wanted to provide
Right,
you whatever
Microdot.
insights he had into his review.
Microdots, I completely agree. It's just anything. It's just now my instinct to just be like fucking liar at like anything he says. It's absolutely ridiculous.
I think we got a super dad. Super dad. I think we got a super dad. Super dad. Super dad. Super dad. think we got a super chat. I think we got a super chat. I think we.
Chloe Albert's Revenge, thank you so much. Let's not forget, they claim she was drunk out of her mind, but she's the expert driver and criminal mastermind too. Agreed. Right. Yeah, she's a criminal mastermind. You know, she has all this motive and she's a criminal mastermind and she thought all this out, but you know, she's a sloppy drunk on top of it. Got it. Just some lady. Thank you for coming, YouTube member. I appreciate it. Appreciate it. Yeah, this dude is amazing.
Of those videos. Otherwise, what's the point, right?
Correct.
So when you reviewed his notes, did you see that they were on some sticky pads? You remember that?
That sounds about right.
Like at some point, it stands to be noted. Like it must be noted that at some point, this guy, Trooper Michael Proctor, sat around and brainstormed with Trooper Paul. Let that sink in for a second. That those two guys sat there and brainstormed shit together. Incredible. Now, I hate to jump from one thing to another. I actually meant to go over this earlier. You know what? Let me just, hopefully I'll remember to do it before I end the stream, but whatever. Well, let me just stay on task here. Don't let my ADHD ruin this experience for you guys.
Do you recall exactly, as you sit here, exactly what was on one or more of those sticky pads that you reviewed from Trooper Chico?
I don't know.
Would it refresh your recollection if you would take a look at a copy of those notes?
Yes.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
May I? Yes. If you would mind taking a look at the top or the uppermost top note.
I was like, yes,
sticky
man.
note next to it.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Approach.
Yes.
Trooper Proctor, do you have these notes in mind, specifically the uppermost note?
The 0041?
Correct.
Yes.
You reviewed this previously before you wrote your report, correct?
Yes.
All right. And you note that at 0041, which is a time relative to what DeChico was looking at on the ring video, he indicated taillights from driveway, parentheses, I think she arrived home, in parentheses, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
0041 is what?
They did.
Is that in reference to?
Just
Thank
after
you,
midnight.
Miss Adventure.
Approximate time where Miss Reed will be returning from Fairview Road.
It's military time for 12:41 a.m., correct?
Yes.
Thank you,
wrote a
Chloe.
report on November, I'm sorry, I earlier said November, it's actually June 1, 2022, memorializing the times that were of note to you in that ring footage, correct?
Yes.
No, that's not the one
Do you
that's going
recall
to
every
kill me
single
now.
entry that you made concerning the events that were of note to you that were reflected in your report?
The majority of them. Every single one.
Will you refresh your recollection to look at a copy of your report to determine what all you did and did not note?
Yes, sir.
May I approach?
Sure. Do you have it with you, Trooper? Do you have your report with you?
What's wrong with you?
I'd ask you to review that report, especially as to page 2 and 3.
Yeah, it was Guarino. Thank you, James Lynch.
May I approach? Yes. Thank you. Trooper, do you have those events in mind?
I do.
Your report is dated June 1st, 2022, correct?
Correct.
And reflected in this report are the bullet points of the times that you found of some note in your review of all of the ring footage from One Meadows, correct?
Yes.
in your report, there's no mention of the footage showing Karen Reed arriving home at 12:41 a.m., correct?
Correct.
And that's notwithstanding the fact that in Trooper Chico's report, in his handwritten notes, he makes note of an event at 12:41 a.m. indicating, I think she arrived home, correct?
Correct.
Now, I forgot to tell you guys one really, really great feature on this new mug that is so cool, you can't even buy it because the website's crashed. One really cool feature about this is it's great for mic slurping. Shout out, Turtle Boy.
So sometime between when Trooper Chico wrote his notes and when you wrote your report, that video footage vanished, correct?
There's also no date on Trooper Chico's notes. We have many dates from Ring Video, so I don't know if he's referencing a different date.
Well, you're aware that the video footage from 12:41 a.m. is gone, correct?
Yes, it's something I've tried to find through Ring for months, as well as the video when Miss Roberts, Miss McCabe, Miss Reed arrived back at John's and they're looking at the broken tail. Like that video is gone as well.
So at some point, while this footage was in Massachusetts State Police custody and being reviewed by Trooper DeChico, that video existed, didn't it?
Objection.
The objection is sustained. Mr. Jackson, don't waive that again, okay?
Yes, sir.
Quit waving stuff, Mr. Jack, then.
The fact is, notwithstanding Trooper DeChico's handwritten notes, there's no video of 12:41 in January 29th, is there?
No, there isn't.
Trooper Proctor, would you agree that from the very beginning of your investigation, you treated Karen Reed very differently than you treated the Alberts and McCabe's in this case?
Objection.
I'll allow it. Was she treated differently?
Absolutely not. Like I said before, we followed the facts and the evidence, an open mind.
Did you consider her?
Did you actually do any investigating into the facts? You know, like questioning the people who were at the crime scene the night of, like, you know, that maybe, because the answer, the truthful answer to that question that Alan Jackson just asked you is fuck no. It's not just no, it's fuck no. Because there is a house full of people, potential witnesses to what happened to Boston police officer John O'Keefe, yet you failed to question any of them. Why is that? I mean, you questioned some of them a few days later. You questioned some of them a few weeks later. Questioned some a few months later. Some you didn't question at all. You didn't think it might have been helpful to liaise and utilize with other police officers? The owner of the house, Boston cop. The other guy who you never questioned or spoke to about it, ATF agent. Federal ATF agent. Interesting. Caveman, thank you so much. Did you do any real police worker? Any really police worker? I speak typo, and yes, super chats do that for some reason. Yeah, he didn't do any police work at all.
For her to be, for want of a better phrase,
This
an
is
outsider.
crazy.
No, not at all.
Not somebody from Canton,
No, not at all.
not family, not friends with the Alberts.
Absolutely not.
At some point, your view of this case caused you to turn what could be described as bias into an out-and-out hatred. Would you agree with that?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you develop some sort of hatred for Ms. Reed at
Objection.
any point in your investigation?
I'll allow it.
Again, we followed the facts and evidence which showed Miss Reed hit Mr. O'Keefe with her vehicle. And yes, at times I got emotional because of that. And I said some stuff, texted some things I shouldn't have, but it was based off the evidence.
As a matter of fact, you did express your feelings about Ms. Reed in yet another text message that we haven't gone over today. Is that right? On February 4th, 2022?
I mean, I love that shit. So based on the evidence that the jury that you expect the jury to believe is legit after you failed to log most of it into evidence, you failed to preserve any of it. I mean, you failed to question witnesses in a timely fashion or at all. So you expect this jury to believe that your hatred for this woman was based on this so-called evidence that may or may not exist thanks to your practices? That as far as the jury's concerned, as far as the jury's concerned, may or may not exist because of your practices in your investigation. I think that's fascinating that you were emotionally driven based on the facts of the case, yet you failed to actually collect or preserve any facts that would implicate Karen Reed in this crime. So, no, your hatred for her came from somewhere else, but it definitely was not from the facts of the case. Now, maybe you hated her because you couldn't get anything on her and you were focused on railroading her. And because there was so little on her, it made it more difficult to railroad her. And so your feelings were directed towards her in that regard. Maybe I'll buy that. I still won't really buy it, but I'll buy that. Me, I just think you hate women, Michael Proctor. That's what I think. Me, I think you just hate women. And I think that you are Brian Albert simp who put on a show of being emotionally driven by this in order to impress him. Because you wanted them to know that you were so adamant and emotionally driven. You were invested in protecting that family. Why, I don't know. What Brian Albert has to offer you or has on you, I don't know. Maybe you're just someone of a weak disposition and likes to crawl up the ass of somebody because they've been on TV. Maybe you're one of those guys. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is I thoroughly believe that you railroaded Karen Reed and talked shit in the process to look tough and to impress your so-called friends. That's what I think. Well, I'm not talking directly to Brian Albert. Well, I'm talking to his friends. Tully, Bukaki. I mean, at the end of the day, dude, you're just a fucking simp.
Might as well turn to tab 10.
Tab 10?
It's either the bait stamp or the.
This is triple F as in Foxtrot. And the base stamp is 2526.
Yes, sir.
You see an entry from Courtney Proctor, a text starting, I didn't give my.
Yes.
Request permission to publish, Your Honor.
Yes.
2526, please. On that date, February 4th, 2022, your sister texted in relation to some sort of donation that she had given. I didn't give my name as I didn't want anyone to link me to Michael, meaning you, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach?
Okay, take that down.
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach? Lally's the most unimpressive motherfucker I've ever seen in my life, dude. Dude, it's crazy because people will look at Karen Reed and be like, look at her. God, just look at her. She's so full of hatred. you know she did it because she's so full of hatred. Motherfucker, how would you feel if you were being falsely accused of a crime, being falsely accused of killing your boyfriend, who you went through desperate lengths to get his attention? How would you feel if you were on trial for his murder?
You see the text from Courtney Proctor. I did not give my name as I didn't want anyone to link me.
So that's stricken. That's what was objected to. Just this one, or the whole page goes in.
You responded to a text message from your sister, correct? And your response was, hopefully.
Like, I love that she's not sitting there fucking feeling sorry for herself. Like, the irony is, like, this is why they hate her. They say, oh, well, you know, she looks like that, so she's guilty. I say no. See, people with common sense look at her and think, man, she's really composing herself well, considering. That's the majority of people there. And what's really funny is if she was sitting there feeling sorry for herself, wearing glasses that she doesn't really wear, putting on a show, most of her supporters would see through that shit. She wouldn't have half of the support that she has right now if she was doing that. If she wasn't sitting up there bold as fuck going, fuck you, I shouldn't even fucking be here. If she wasn't sitting up there with that attitude, she wouldn't have half the support that she has right now. I would bet my bottom dollar on it.
Hopefully, she kills herself, correct?
Yes.
Who's she?
The defendant.
Miss Reed?
Correct.
You literally said that you hope that Karen Reed, the subject of your investigation, the woman sitting to my left, about 7 feet from me, that she would just die, correct?
The figure of speech.
You wanted her, the figure of speech is you wanted her to kill herself.
No,
correct?
no, it's not.
Trooper Proctor, Karen Reed, in your investigation, had quickly become a very serious problem for you, hadn't she?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you believe that Karen Reed was a problem or an issue for your investigation?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
No, absolutely not.
In your words, quote, all the powers that be want answers ASAP. That's what you texted on January 29th, right?
Yes.
That put a lot of pressure on you, didn't it, Trooper Proctor?
There's a lot of pressure in every case, sir.
This case involves a Boston cop whose family you were actually connected to, correct?
Loosely.
Chris Albert, loosely.
Yes.
Julie Albert, loosely.
Yes.
Colin Albert, loosely.
Yes.
Kevin Albert, loosely.
Yes.
Loose enough to leave his badge and his gun in your cruiser after a night of drinking, right?
Every fucking Albert was just named, bro. Every fucking Albert.
Objection.
Sustained.
You agreed in your group chat that you needed to, quote, make this cut and dry because another cop was involved. Those are your words, right?
Objection.
Where is this?
This was referred to in earlier text messages, group chats.
So is that right? Did you say that, sir?
I did text that. I don't know if it's in the exact context. But yes, those were my words.
Group chat.
Yes, that was in the group chat.
Your friends wrote this whole thing in their words, stinks, correct?
Yes, I interpret that as a joke.
You believed, Trooper Proctor, that your life would be much easier if Karen Reed was just dead, didn't you?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
No. Like I said, it was a figure of speech. My emotions got the best of me based on, the fact that Miss Reed hit Mr. O'Keefe with her vehicle and left him to die on the side of the road. So my emotions got the best of me with that figure of speech.
Oh, shut the fuck up, liar. So yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, it must, dude. If I was Karen Reed, bro, like I would be like Turtle Boy, the way he is with his case. Honestly, I'd be as fucking flamboyant and loud about it as possible. I would be talking the house of fucking shit. Absolutely 100%. I would be talking the house of shit if I was in their position. The fact that Karen Reed isn't all over the press going, you know what? Fuck you, motherfuckers. You ain't got shit. Fuck you. Tells me a lot about her character. And I'm not saying she would be less of a character. She would have to be someone of less character if she were to do that, because in my opinion, she has every right to do it. If she started doing it right now, I'd be like, fuck yeah. You know what I mean? So it's just really funny to hear people just be like, oh my God, how dare she? I'm like, dude, if I was in her position, man, and I had as much evidence to exonerate me as she does, and there was this much corruption going on, I don't think I could handle being a classy person. I'm too fucking petty. I'm too fucking petty. I'd be talking the house of shit. And I know she wants to. You know what I mean? You don't go and make your fucking profile picture on your social media the letter from Josh Levy's office to Michael Morrissey stating that there's reason to investigate and that they're going to continue their investigation from fucking 2003. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to do that unless you're like gonna talk some shit. You know what I mean? And I love it. I love it. I love that she's doing that. I think she's absolutely earned the right to talk shit. I think she's absolutely earned the right to gloat and be like, fuck you. Because the thing is the facts don't change. That's the thing about this whole ordeal, is the facts don't change, people. The fact that she is innocent and the facts that dictate that she is innocent don't change. So, I mean, think about it. The fact that she is dying to talk shit right now almost tells me, in a sense, kind of, not really, but kind of, in a sense, tells me that she's innocent. The fact that she wants to talk shit. Because somebody who is guilty of this would be sitting there going, fuck. The fear that the proof of what they really did is always going to be in the back of their mind. That fear is always going to be there for somebody who is guilty. But for somebody to be that confident and be like, dude, homie, just so you know, like, if you look at my profile on social media, I want you to be reminded that Michael Morrissey is under investigation, and it's just a matter of time before that dude is indicted. And anybody who works knowingly under his umbrella of corruption and benefits from it is going to be indicted as well. It's just a matter of time. That's all it is. Nobody guilty would be that confident, in my opinion. Not even the delusionally guilty, the people who are delusional enough to think that they're justified in their actions would do that. Because there's always the subconscious that is going to have some sort of hold over your actions. That's always going to happen. Karen Reed does not seem to have this. And not only does she not seem to have this, she also seems to have every single fact of this case dictating her innocence and working in her favor.
Talk about your figures of speech. During the course of your investigation, your figures of speech include the following. She's a bitch.
Objection.
Is that right?
Yes.
A whack job, correct?
Yes.
A retard, right?
Yes.
Her balloon knot leaks, right?
Yes.
No
Jesus,
ass,
man.
correct?
Yes.
She's fucked, according to you, right?
Yes.
Ass leaker. That was the word you used, a figure of speech, right?
Correct.
A girl who shits herself, right?
Correct.
And then fuck her, correct?
Correct.
Would you agree, Trooper Proctor, that you have dehumanized Karen Reed during the course of your investigation with comments and words like this?
Alan Jackson, like, says that shit with such like bass in his fuck her, right? He says that shit. So, like, And there's an art to that shit. Like, he's doing that because, you know, he's a lawyer. He's a damn good trial lawyer. So what he's trying to do is get, every time he says something that is shocking, that a Massachusetts state police officer would send in text messages to his colleagues. Anytime the jury hears it, he wants that jury to jump. There's an art to Alan Jackson. There's an art to his delivery here. He's trying to get that jury to go. Every time he says, fuck her balloon knot leaks. You know? Like, he wants that jury to, oh shit. And it's fucking genius. It's great.
Jackson.
I'll give you this one, Mr. Jackson.
Would you agree with that?
I would say based off that language, yes.
And you admitted, in your own words, that the cop homeowner wasn't going to, quote, catch any shit, right?
Correct.
Because you were out to quote, make this cut and dry. Isn't that right?
The homeowner was going to catch any shit because Mr. Elliott had nothing to do with Mr. O'Keefe's death.
Because you were going to make sure that the case was cut and dry. Those were your words, right?
Objection.
Sustained.
And Trooper Proctor.
I mean, those were your words, weren't they? Did you or did you not fucking say that you were going to make it cut and dry? No cop is ever going to word something like that unless they're, you know what I mean? Like, that's...
Proctor, it would be far easier for you to pin it on the girl who's just a whack job cunt, in your words, who you hope just kills herself, right?
Objection.
Sustained.
Shame on you, sir.
All right, so jurors, disregard that. I've told you before, lawyers can't make comments. They can ask questions. And Mr. Jackson, you know better than that.
That's all I have.
Mr. Lally?
Look at Karen. Karen's like, fuck yeah, bitch. That just happened, motherfucker. Fuck you. Eat it.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Now, when you had started the cross-examination the other day, you were asking questions about whether or not in August of 2022, you disliked or did not like Mr. Yannetti, correct?
That's correct.
Why was that?
Well, basically, he stood up in open court and spouted lie after lie about me, called me corrupt and conflicted, dragged my name through the mud after I spent 10 plus years without a single complaint filed against me, and he had no basis or no facts of these wild accusations because there are none. This investigation was done with the utmost integrity, not just by me, but my supervisors and other troopers in my office, as well as Mr. Yannetti shows up in my system.
That's interesting, because if that were the case, then why is it that every single fucking one of you are under internal affairs investigation currently? Why is it that you're suspended without pay? With the utmost integrity? Really? You could say that shit after what was just thrown in your face in open court? You can say that shit out loud? And you wonder why people are questioning your integrity? Come on, dude.
Assisted school yesterday in the parking lot where he's not welcomed or where people are not supposed to be with one of their witnesses and their private investigator. And a teacher sees this, informs Mr. Yannetti that he can't be there. And instead of saying, okay, and leaving, he asks, is Coney Proctor in the building? Does she work here? She called me to see if she was being served.
Objection. Can we approach?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the fact is, dude, Michael Proctor is never getting laid in the state of Massachusetts again. Like, that is just never happening, dude. And what a shame for him, too, because, you know, he's such a douchebag that he probably, like, measures his manhood on how many women he sleeps with to some degree. Just the way that he talks about women. It's poetic justice. Just think about that for a second. This is how you listen to the way that he talks about women. Just imagine how he treats women. So, he's just never, I mean, nobody where he lives locally is ever going to be like, oh, hi. They're going to be like, oh, no, I'm sorry. That's it. That's what he's going to get every time. Every time. Hey, how you doing? Can I buy you a drink? Aren't you? You know what? No, thank you. Dude, come on. Listen. Nobody, first of all, I don't give a fuck that he's married either, bro. Like, and I agree with you. Like his wife, we know what she's all about. Like, I got no respect for that lady at all. You know what I mean? Like, none at all. But I guarantee you, if I don't, this motherfucker doesn't either. You know what I mean? I guarantee you this fool has no respect for his wife at all whatsoever. Now this dude, his only chance of ever getting laid ever again is through his wife, who he can't stand, most likely. Guaranteed. If that's not justice, just for referring to a woman to a woman's body parts the way that he did, if that's not justice, I don't know what is. Just for that. Thomas Autonomous Anonymous. Carrie Reed beat all 3 charges, and only lesser charges in count 2 should even be on the table if those are weak enough to dismiss. Agreed. I agree. I hope that happens, and thank you so much. I appreciate you. There goes Jess, Fall River reporter. She's really, really nice. So I wonder what this sidebar is all about. I forgot all about this. Because we have to do that, folks. We have to find the blessing in everything, dude. And the blessing in all of this is that douchebag had to sit there in front of the entire world and admit to what he did. As far as the way that he spoke about a suspect, a woman, to his work colleagues as a cop. The fact that he had to sit there and admit to it in front of the world is beautiful.
You are unmuted.
Keep rise for the jury.
Thank you. May you see the close back in session.
Witness 2, please. Jurors, I am striking that last answer. It was probably a partial answer cut off. I'm striking it completely, disregarded. If you took notes, cross the notes out. You're not to consider it in any way. It is completely stricken from the record.
I forgot what the answer
Trooper, I
was.
suggest you listen to the question being asked of you before you answer it.
My apologies, Your Honor.
Keep your voice up, Mr. Lally.
Super Proctor, try that again. As far as you were asked about text messages that occurred in August of 2022, in which you indicated that you did not like Mr. Yannick, correct?
Correct.
And so, at the time of that text message that was sent in August of 2022, why was that?
In August of 2022, why was that?
Yes.
The reasons I laid out, the false accusations of being conflicted and corrupt spouted in an open court, which there's zero evidence of. Like I said, I stand by the integrity of this investigation, as well as every trooper and supervisor in my office.
Were there also motions filed by Mr. Yannetti or by counsel?
We know that that's not the reason why you hated Mr. Yannetti. Let's be honest. The real reason why you hated David Yannetti at the time was because he was a total monkey wrench in your fucking plan. That's something that you and the McAlberts didn't count on, because you expected to do a sloppy frame-up job, which would be just enough to get Karen Reed to plead guilty, and all of this would just go away. But instead, Karen Reed decided to hire a very effective trial attorney, a very effective defense attorney whose job it is to get to the truth, is to defend their client based on facts and the truth. And this is what he did. He threw a whole monkey wrench in your plans. David Yannetti's existence, enter David Yannetti, fucked everything up for you and the McAlberts. That's all that happened here. It's not even complicated. That's all that happened here. The only reason you guys did such a shoddy fucking job was because you were counting on Karen Reed pleading guilty. Because Karen Reed questioned whether or not she hit John with her vehicle. So you decided to make it look like she did, very sloppily, thinking that she's going to plead guilty, so that her public defender or her attorney would just say, hey, well, they have this evidence against you, so the best thing to do is to take a plea. We can cut a deal. Because it's not the focus, Michael Proctor, was not to get Karen Reed framed for this necessarily. The focus was to get the eyes off of the McAlberts. That was the objective of the frame-up job. Was Karen Reed would plead guilty. She ends up paying for this. Legally speaking, she ends up being responsible for it. And yet there's no more responsibility to be had anymore. It goes away. That's what you were counting on. But you should have done a better job. Because what you weren't counting on was David Yannetti. And you sure as fuck weren't counting on Alan Jackson. So, thank you, Chloe Albert's Revenge. If Proctor were my husband, I could understand talking him into my Samsonite and going to bed. Just saying, oh, I see what you did there. I see what you did there. That was a little Sarah Boone humor there. I love it. Good for you. Good for you. There you go. Man. That Sarah Boone thing, man. That was a tough case to crack. Okay, all right. I know. Well, too soon. Okay. Okay. All right. I know it sucked. Hold on. And oh, we need attention break.
I think we got a super chat.
Super bad.
I think we got a super chat.
Super bad.
Super chat. Super chat. I think we got a super chat. I think we got a super chat.
Little Irish girl, thank you so much. I wonder how business is at the disgraced cops PI firm. Yeah, there's that too. I wonder how much truth there is to that. I know Turtle Boy, he wrote an article about it. I read some of it. But I think he said something like maybe that they may be working for this PI firm. But that would be funny. All right.
By counsel containing photographs of yourself and some children.
Yes.
And what, if anything, were the allegations in regard to the children that were?
I mean, let's think about that for a second. Like, let's say this PI firm is legit, right? Let's say that's an actual thing. This PI firm that has all of these fucking disgraced, fucking dirty cops. Like, what are they going to specialize? Who's going to hire them? That's what I want to know. Like, who's going to be like, hey, aren't you the guys? I mean, I feel like they're going to like low key be the guys you hire to get rid of a body or frame somebody for murder. But even still, like, nobody who followed this case is going to do that. I sure as fuck wouldn't hire these guys to frame anybody or get rid of a body. I sure as fuck wouldn't do that. These are not organized people. I just don't see how this business is going to flourish. I mean, it's like the dream team of fucking misfits. Like the dream team of fucking retard investigators. I don't understand how anybody would hire that firm if that's the case. That would be amazing. Like, I'd have to follow their progress. Like, I want to know like what they're doing.
Were depicted in those photographs.
So the photograph was taken in my parents' backyard.
Objections overruled.
My parents' backyard at a pool party. There's some little kids in the photo. Defense counsel kept insinuating that those were the McCabe's children, when in fact they were my family, my cousins.
Now, have you at any point in time ever met any children of the McCabe's?
No, sir.
In the course of this investigation, as it was sort of alleged on cross-examination, did you essentially pick a suspect and then try to have the evidence fit that?
Objection. Form?
In that form, it's strictly not allowed to ask that later.
How did you conduct this investigation, you and the other troopers?
From the start of this investigation with an open mind. Like I said earlier, we didn't know what we had, possible medical. So as the day went on and we collected more evidence and developed compelling evidence against Ms. Reed.
Now, with reference to this investigation, it continued after January 29, 2022, when you had those text communications with your friends, correct?
Yes.
That's simple, huh?
That you compiled over the course of.
That's simple, huh? You know, hey, we just we collected evidence, and then we just collected a bunch of evidence against Miss Reed. Like, anytime you hear a lead investigator testify in open court in a murder trial, they will walk you through, at least to a certain degree, just to answer that question. They'll say, well, we questioned all of the witnesses through process of elimination, all of the evidence that we ended up collecting through various interviews, through canvassing, through different methods of investigations. We concluded that that all of the evidence pointed towards Karen Reed. I mean, they'll say something to that degree. But they're not going to go, we collected evidence against Karen Reed. Like, that's not cop talk. But see, that's the thing, is watching this again with a new pair of eyes after we know that he's been suspended, after we know that he's still under internal affairs investigation, after we know that his superiors are as well now. Hearing him say that is okay. What you ask yourself, like, is he just saying this because he's a shitty cop? Or maybe I just don't know any better. You know, maybe that's just how cops would answer that question. No. This is how a shitty cop who doesn't do his fucking job would answer that question.
That investigation following January 29, 2022.
I'm sorry, say that again, please.
Following that date of those text messages on January 29, 2022, was there additional information that was gathered over the course of your investigation by yourself or other troopers involved in the investigation?
Yes.
And from that additional information that was gathered, what, if any, information that was gathered throughout the course of the investigation indicated that anyone besides Ms. Reed had anything to do with Mr. O'Keefe's death?
All the information gathered after that date indicated no one else was responsible for Mr. O'Keefe's death.
You didn't investigate anyone else.
Questions on cross-examination about testimony in the prior.
See, that right there is perjury. That right there is perjury. The reason why that's perjury is because, and I'll play it one more time.
All the information gathered after that date indicated no one else was responsible for Mr. O'Keefe's death.
Okay. The problem with that, and the reason why that's perjury, is because you cannot truthfully say those words when you didn't question and investigate anyone else except Karen Reed. You cannot say that nobody else was responsible when you didn't properly investigate anyone else. Can you? You failed to investigate others. So you cannot truthfully say that no one else could be responsible based on your investigations.
Sir, you were asked some questions on cross-examination about testimony in the prior proceeding and shown specifically at page 01563, correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
Sir, I'm giving you 01562, 63, and 64. And ask you to read those one up.
What were the numbers again, Mr. Lally?
1562, 63, and 64.
Dude, look at this dude's fucking melon, bro. Look at his head, dude. Like, does he fucking like wash his hair with fucking microfiber rags and then fucking like turtle wax that shit?
Yes.
Now, Trooper, after reviewing those 3 pages, is there now more context to what you were just asked about on one specific page of that testimony?
Yes.
And those were questions related to what you had told or what you had informed other people within the office or your supervisors in relation to relationships with both McCabe's and the office, correct?
Correct.
And in the course of that testimony, did you relay to that body the same testimony you just relayed to this jury in regard to photographs of children and defense counsel attributing those to being McCabe's children, which they were not?
Yes.
Now, you were asking questions.
You see,
in regard to,
yeah, this is all like, you have to understand, like, this is the prosecution's entire method. This entire trial is to play defense against the accusations from the defense. This makes it impossible for them to prove their case because they wouldn't have to really do that. Like, if they just had facts, it wouldn't matter what the defense is claiming. This is the interesting thing about this. Now, I could be wrong. Again, I'm not a lawyer, but I feel as though if Karen Reed was actually guilty and the prosecution actually had a sound case against her, they would only need to rely on that. They would only need to rely on the facts and the proof that Karen Reed is guilty than having to play defense against the defense's tactics, against the defense's third-party culprit defense. I mean, that's just how I feel about it. I feel like the prosecution, if they had a case, all they would need to do is rely on that case. I think it's very telling that they're so focused on deflecting everything that the defense is throwing their way. when the prosecution is playing defense, that's a bad look for the prosecution's case. I can't see how it wouldn't be to a jury.
To what you knew or why your focus was not on Brian Alberts later on in the evening of January 29, 2022, correct?
Correct.
And why was that? Why was your focus not on Brian Albert at that time?
There was just no evidence that Mr. L was involved anyway. Like I said before, the from witness interviews, the statements Ms. Reed provided to witnesses, the one shoe left at the scene, the taillight pieces found underneath the snow that were dug out by the CERT team, the injuries to Mr. O'Keefe, the one shoe at the hospital that was observed, her statements to us, Sergeant Mechanic and I, while we interviewed her, clearly the broken taillight, and the fact that leaving Brockton, instead of going to Dighton, she backtracked to go to Canton to retrieve her vehicle and then go double back to go to Dighton, which I found odd.
Now, if at any point in time over the course of your investigation you had evidence which led you to believe that Mr. Albert was involved in the death of Mr. O'Keefe, what would you have done?
Objection. Ask it differently.
With regard to, again, you testified
The one shoe
beyond
theory.
January 29th. At any point in your investigation, did you find any information or evidence leading you to believe that Brian Albert was involved in the death of John O'Keefe?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
No.
Now, if you had found information leading to that conclusion or evidence leading to that, what would you have done?
Objection.
Then allow it.
Not only myself, but members of my office would have pursued that,
Regardless of his position, correct?
regardless of what he does for a profession.
You know, approach?
Yes.
I mean, but how can you truthfully say that if you're saying it was a cop's house and I'm going to make sure that none of this falls on him? Like it's in writing, it's in text messages, it's data, it's fact, it's there. You admitted to it in open court minutes ago.
Recognize that.
That is text communications between me and my high school buddies.
And sir, if I could direct your attention within there to page 2535.
He's about to admit to it again.
Yes, sir.
You were asking questions about text on that page, but also there's a text on that page that begins with, they arrived at house together, correct?
Correct.
And what is the date and time associated with that text message that you sent?
That was sent on January 29, 2022 at 11 p.m.
And what is the content, or what did you send to that group?
Um,
That text.
The message reads, they arrived at the house together, got into an argument, she was driving and left.
And so that's also information that you had late in the evening of January 29, 2022, correct?
Objection.
Inform that, sustained.
With respect to that information you conveyed in that text message, when did you learn it?
During the course of the day on the 29th.
May I approach?
Yes.
Retreat. Now, you were asking questions about people that you spoke to on the 29th, correct?
Yes.
And that included Ryan Albert, Jennifer McCabe, Matthew McCabe, Kerry Roberts, is that correct?
Trooper DeChico and Trooper Dunn interviewed Ms. Roberts.
And my apologies. When I was saying you, I meant collectively.
Yes.
But you specifically, yourself and Sergeant Mechanic, you also spoke with the defendant on January 29th, correct?
Correct.
And that would have been prior to any of the text communications that were contained within that chat with your friends, correct?
Correct.
He asked you something about charging decisions. Is that something that you make in this case or any case?
I don't make any charging decisions. We're essentially fact finders.
So as far as what Ms. Reed was charged with or when she was charged with it, that's not something that's within your purview, correct?
No, not at all.
No, it's who is that? I wonder if he'll answer, because I think it's the DA.
Now, specifically, you were asking questions about some text messages between yourself and Trooper Chico in regards to his medical exam, correct?
Correct.
And those occurred in April of 2022, is that correct?
Yes.
Was the defendant Ms. Reed charged with murder in April of 2022?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
No.
What's up, streets,
That wasn't
bro?
until June of 2022, correct?
It's correct.
And that was at the conclusion of the grand jury, is that correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
And you're aware that there was a grand jury in this case, correct?
Objection. Hold trial.
Yes.
Answer that.
And are you aware of certain witnesses that testified at the grand jury?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
Yes.
Are you aware that Dr. Sporty Bello testified at the grand jury?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
Yes.
And so, false reason then that the defendant wasn't charged with murder until after the grand jury concluded and Dr. Sporty Bello had testified before that grand jury, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Now, the Albert family that you were familiar with some members of, that's not an entity, correct?
No.
Individual members of a family, some you know, some you may not know, correct?
Objection.
Sustained. Watch your phone, Mr. Mann.
How many members of the Albert family did you know when you started this investigation in January, or when you received this call on January 29, 2022?
Julie, Chris Albert, Colin, and Kevin Albert.
Now, you were asking questions about interviewing Julie Albert and Chris Albert at their home on February 10th, correct?
Yes.
Now, with respect to that date, have you ever been to that home prior to February 10th?
And not been to that. That's kind of their new home. I'd never been to their new home or the previous home either.
Now, as far as conversations with either Julie or Chris Albert, when was the last time you talked to them before you interviewed them on February 10th?
I believe I'd reached out to Julie to coordinate the interview.
Now, many of you, most of you already know this, but a lot of you who are new to the channel may not. But the reason why we all know is not just because of this trial, but the reason why we all know that Trooper Proctor has a personal relationship with members of the Albert family and the McCabe family is due to Turtle Boy's investigations. This is a fact. The reason why we knew this before it came out in pre-trial was because Turtle Boy investigated this and uncovered it. He also obtained pictures of Jen McCabe's vehicle parked at Michael Proctor's home. So, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. You gotta give credit where credit is due. Okay. A lot of the things that we know in this case prior to this trial, what this trial did was a lot of what this trial did was validate Turtle Boy as an investigative journalist. I mean, it just did, because a lot of the stuff that he uncovered, wrote about, made videos about prior to the trial got validated and solidified and confirmed here during the trial. And he went to jail for 2 months. Think about that. Dude went to jail for 2 months. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this. But just keep that in mind. All of this hoopla in the trial right now that we're watching about Michael and Elizabeth Proctor having a personal relationship with members of the Albert family and the McCabe family is because Turtle Boy uncovered this through his investigations.
But prior to this case, there was that one random text message she sent me and my sister when I was going on a family ski trip. They weren't a part of it. She wanted me to take a video of my sister skiing. But
That was February 2022.
yeah.
So what my question is prior to February 10th, 2022, prior to any arrangements to schedule an interview for February 10th, when was the last time that you spoke to either Julie Albert or Chris Albert? You know.
I don't know. I can't remember.
Now, with regard to that text message in regard to skiing in late February 2022, you were shown that text message, correct?
Yes.
Was there any response from you?
No.
Did you have any further communication with Julie Albert after that interview on January 29th, 2022, related to this investigation?
I recall the serving her for grand jury. I know she wanted to kind of have an idea of what the process was like. So there's communications regarding that.
And was that something that was solely done with Julie Albert or other witnesses, or?
All the witnesses that were called in the grand jury. You know, it's unusual for, the majority of civilians to be called in the grand jury. So they obviously have questions about the process.
Now, as far as babysitting for your children, is that something that Julie Albert ever did?
No.
As far as those text communications between yourself and your sister regarding that, is that something that you would ask for, or something that your sister had suggested?
Yeah, my sister had suggested that. We never followed up with having Julie watch my kids.
Now, you were asked some questions about text messages with your sister, Courtney, correct?
Correct.
And I believe a couple times you would use the term, well, let me ask you this first. With regard to from January 29th throughout at least January, February 2022, this was this case became something that was on the news on a fairly regular basis, correct?
News and social media, yes.
And so when you were using the term in describing what you spoke to your sister about as far as newsworthy, what did you mean by that?
My sister lives in Canton, so there's a lot of, as well on the news and social media stuff that was being discussed on those platforms.
As far as the discussion,
Y'all in the chat are killing me right now.
How would you describe, how would you characterize the type of information that you shared with her event?
Just general information, nothing specific about the case.
You were also asked about a specific text from your sister on January 30th. It started out with, I believe it was Jesus Christ. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that was in reference to the body of Mr. O'Keefe being found on Brian Albert's lawn, correct?
Correct.
And so she's asking you about that on January 30th, correct?
Yes.
So fair to reason that that wasn't something that you shared with her prior to January 3rd, correct?
Correct.
And something that you hadn't shared with her at all at that point that you received that text communication, correct?
Correct.
Sustained is uniform. Watch how you ask these questions, Mr. Alley, as your witness.
Yes, sure. With regard to that information, as far as who the homeowner was, what, if anything, had you shared with Sister Courtney prior to you receiving that text from her, indicating her knowledge?
Yeah, I didn't
Thank you,
recall
Tim
sharing anything
Blanche.
with in regards to the homeowner.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Now, in regard to any issues of a gift or request for a gift,
Yeah, he
how would you
sucks
characterize
so
that? Was it
bad.
serious? Was that in jest? How would you characterize that?
I didn't take.
I'll allow it.
I didn't take that offer seriously. And as I had mentioned on Monday, that I didn't ask for a gift. I never received one. I kind of
That shit hits different. Like Bev saying her cliche shit, rewatching the trial hits different after all of the troll accounts that I see like on Twitter. This shit is just so funny. People just throwing in their Bev their Bev troll accounts, and they'll be saying shit like, I'll allow it.
said, get my wife a gift. She had been home about 10 straight nights with the boys. We had another homicide the week before. So that was my response. Get Elizabeth one. And she never received one.
Now, you were asked some questions about Colin Albert, correct?
Correct.
And as far as what, if any, information did you have as far as Colin Albert and his being at 34 Fairview at the same time as anyone from coming back from the waterfall?
It was my understanding Colin arrived later on to just see his cousin's birthday. He didn't stay that long, maybe an hour, a little over an hour. And as he was leaving, I think
It's fucked up.
Ran into his aunt and uncle as his ride had arrived out.
I think I subconsciously just tune Lolly the fuck out. I don't even like I don't even pay attention to him. It's crazy.
And left at sometime around 12:10 a.m.
Was that information that you had prior to your interview with
Thank
Colin
you,
Albert?
Chloe Albert's revenge. Jeez.
We knew Colin wasn't
questioning on
at the
repeat
house.
to clear
The
out
timing
Waco.
was provided by Colin.
And then at
good
one time
one.
in your investigation, what, if any, evidence did you ever receive that Colin Albert was at 34 Fairview at the same time as Mr. O'Keefe or the defendant?
Based on Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone location data using his Waze app, Colin Albert is leaving around like 12:10 a.m. Mr. O'Keefe
We love
is
you too,
about
Vivian.
half a mile away at 12:20 a.m. So they did not cross paths.
Now, Mr. Jackson was asking about some people as far as interviews or later in October or so of 2022 or beyond. You were given 5 names as far as Brian Albert Jr., Julie Nagel, Ms. Kent, Ms. Fabiano, Ms. Alba, and Ms. Levinson, and Colin Albert, correct?
Yes.
And then you were asked about 3 people that you had interviewed, and then were asked if there was only 1 person left, that being Colin Albert, correct?
Correct.
Did that math match up as far as 5 people, 3 given, and only 1 person not interviewed?
No.
Now, with reference to Ms. Kent, Ms. Fabiano, and Ms. Alba, you're not.
Oh yeah, for sure.
No.
Why not?
I agree.
They weren't present for
Thank you so much.
when the adults arrived back from the
Callie,
waterfall.
Sandy,
Left
RN.
34 Fairview, like Colin Albert, prior to the waterfall people coming in.
Objection.
Sustained is that no.
What, if any, information did you have with regards to the whereabouts of Ms. Kent, Ms. Fabiano, Ms. Alba, and Colin Albert in relation to 34 Fairview and the arrival of people from the water?
They had left the residence.
So, with respect to Colin Albert, why was it that he was interviewed and not Ms. Kent, Ms. Fabiano, and Ms. Alba?
Colin was falsely accused of.
Objection.
Wow.
Can you answer that same question Mr. Alley asked you differently?
Oi, cunt.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead. Answer.
Colin was the subject of a third-party culprit that had no evidence to back that up.
Objection.
I'm going to allow that.
That had no evidence to back that up, that he was involved whatsoever.
Of course you are, Bev.
My office and myself felt the need to interview Colin, sit him down, and get his story, or his facts of that evening. So that's why we interviewed him at that date and time later on.
And when you say we, do you recall who was present with you when you interviewed Colin?
Now you see why they
Chip is out.
objected. He felt the need to say falsely, that he was being falsely accused. Instead of saying, well, there was an accusation against him, we felt the need to investigate it because it's our job to investigate every avenue. He didn't do that. It's very telling how he answered that. It's very telling that he went the same route that Michael Morrissey went in Michael Morrissey's public statement. Very fascinating. It's very telling that he would answer that in that fashion and say he was falsely accused. I mean, that's why they objected to it.
The Zachary clock.
Are you aware of Sergeant Mechanic getting screenshots from both Colin Albert and from Miss Ally McCabe in relation to text communications they had about picking up Colin Albert from 34 Fairview on January 29th?
Yes.
You were asking questions about Miss McCabe's cell phone. Is that correct?
Yes.
And as far as any material on that phone, are you an expert when it comes to cell phone distractions and what different material may mean within a cell bright distraction?
No, that's left to Trooper Garino in our office.
Are you aware of reports regarding those searches from Trooper Nicholas Garino, a Miss Jessica Hyde, and a Mr. Ian Whip?
I am aware of those, yes.
And those are people who are experts, those are people who have special knowledge or specialized knowledge as it relates to cell bright technology that you do know, correct?
Objection.
Form of the question is sustained.
What, if any, knowledge are you aware of Trooper Nicholas
Oh,
Garino, Miss
okay.
Jessica Hyde, and Mr. Ian Whip?
Thank you, Susie.
To cell bright or cell phone technology that you do not have?
Objection.
Allowing it under building.
Maybe push.
Sure.
You are
I mean, dude, I just don't understand. I don't get it. We'll talk about that stuff when I go over Jen McCabe's testimony. But yeah. All right.
Procedure.
Yes.
Let me rephrase that just a little. As far as you're aware that Trooper Nicholas Garino, Miss Jessica Hyde, and Mr. Ian Whiffen have all looked at Miss McCabe's cell bright and extraction information, correct?
Yes.
And their knowledge, their specialized knowledge in regard to those areas exceeds your own, correct?
Yes.
Now, as far as your conversations with Kevin Apple, how would you characterize those in relation to this investigation?
They had nothing to do with this investigation. Like I said, we were working a cold case together. We also work on other cases together that, unattended deaths that I'll respond to, a potential suicide or an overdose in the town of Canton that I'll respond to. But the topic of our conversations were in regards to the cold case or unresolved case that we're working together.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
The documents the other day. You recognize that?
Yes, I do.
What do you recognize that?
Text communication with Kevin Albert.
And sir, if I could direct your attention to debate stand pages of 2600 and 2601.
Yes, sir.
Now, in regards to activities on that particular date, you had indicated that you had conversations with Kevin Albert about working a cold case from the town of Canton, correct?
Yes.
And specifically on that date, where did the two of you go?
I recall going down to the Cape to at least interview at least one person of interest.
And that was down in the town of Sandwich, to be specific. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, in reference to Kevin Albert leaving his badge in your car, do you recall that?
I do.
If I could direct your attention to page 2602. And what, if any, text communication is contained on that page as far as you asking Kevin Albert any questions about his address?
After I informed Kevin Albert I had located his badge, I follow up, what's your address? I will drop it off after the gym.
You're asking his address because you don't know his address, correct?
Correct.
Sustained.
Why are you asking for his address?
I've never been to his house and I don't know where he lives.
Okay. So Lally thinks that this somehow holds some water here. He's trying to convince the jury they're not really friends. Michael Proctor and Kevin Albert, they're not really friends. Even though Kevin Albert got hammered drunk and left his gun and badge in his car. And he's saying, I'm going to go drop it off. And somehow the jury's supposed to go, well, he asked him where he lives. He didn't know where he lives. So, that's, I'm not convinced that they have a personal relationship. I mean, this is the desperation that Adam Lally has here. This has to be taken note of here. He is so desperate to convince this jury that there is no personal relationship between the Proctors and the Alberts. That he's sitting here and trying to straight up, like, this is exactly a perfect example of when Jackson is talking about Lally's method of look over here, don't look over here. Look over here. He didn't even know where he lives. Don't look over here where he got drunk with him and left his gun and badge. So drunk with him that he left his gun and badge in his car. Don't look over here at that. Look at, he doesn't know where he lives, so they can't be that close. That's how desperate Lally is right here. That is very telling that this is his method. That is very telling that this is the level that he has to stoop to as a prosecutor in this case.
You're so close with him that you don't know where his house is, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
I approach this retrieve, Your Honor.
Yes.
You were asking questions about ring videos from One Meadows Avenue, Mr. O'Keefe's home. Is that correct?
Yes.
To be clear, did you delete any ring videos from Mr. O'Keefe's account, either on his app on his phone or from the materials that you received pursuant to the search?
Absolutely not.
Now, you saw that there were ring videos missing from times that you expected videos to
Who
be.
did?
Specifically, what I'm asking about is Ms. Reeder, the defendant's arrival at the home after leaving Fairview Road, and Ms. McCabe, Ms. Roberts, and the defendant's departure from One Meadows to Fairview Road later on that morning. What did you do?
I reached out to Ring several different times. They informed me if a video is deleted, there's no digital footprint of that. It's essentially kind of gone forever.
And with respect to that time frame, what, if any, other additional steps did you take to try to retrieve that video? Was there a second search warrant, sir?
Yes.
You were looking for additional information from that same ring video, correct?
Objection. Sustained.
What, if anything, were you looking for in that second search?
Additional video.
Now, you were asking questions about notes from Trooper DeChico, correct?
Correct.
And as far as that 0041 note, do you know what that means?
That just tells me it's a time.
And do you know specifically whether or not that is something that Trooper DeChico saw or something that Trooper DeChico was looking for?
That's something Trooper DeChico could answer for.
Can I have this moment? Your Honor?
Yes.
So you were asking questions about Sallyport video at Canton Police Station, correct?
Yes.
And you arrived at the Sallyport garage of the Canton Police Station sometime around or shortly after 5:30 p.m., correct?
Yes.
Now, that 5:30 p.m. time, is that before or after 5:07 a.m.?
After.
And 5:07 a.m. is when the Exhibit 6 video number, I believe 153, with the defendant backing out of the garage where you testified on Monday, you observed some damage to the taillight, correct?
Correct.
And you're aware of some other ring video from Mr. O'Keefe's house showing the defendant, Ms. Roberts and Ms. McCabe, arriving at his house, in which you can see damage to the right passenger taillight, correct?
Correct.
Are you aware of a cruiser camera video from the Canton Police Station, Police Department, specifically Lieutenant Ray, going to One Meadows Avenue 822 in the morning on the 29th, in which you can also observe damage to the taillight?
Objection.
Sustained is to the floor.
As far as 822 in the morning, what, if any, video from One Meadows Avenue are you aware of depicting the defendant's taillight?
Canton Police Department went to conduct a well-being check, and on the dash cruiser camera, you can see the back of Miss Reed's vehicle and the right taillight to be broken and missing pieces.
And as far as your time at the home indictment vehicle, the defendant's vehicle was towed from that location on that day, correct?
Correct.
And what, if any, video are you aware of?
He knows how important it is to say that, even though other people with no skin in the game testify that it was simply cracked.
That driveway, which depicts the right rear passenger side tail light of the defendant's vehicle.
Yeah, as the vehicle's being put on the tow truck, you can make out that there's some pieces missing.
Now, sir, if I could turn you back to those text messages with your friends, January 29th, 2022. With that time in mind, at that point in time, well, let me ask before, as far as all those other videos that we talked to, all of those videos precede your time in Sallyport Garage at 5:30 p.m. on January 29th, correct?
Correct.
Now, with reference to, you mentioned in your testimony the other day, earlier, that at some point in time later in the day or early in that evening, you had met for a debriefing with yourself and the other troopers involved in the investigation on January 29th. Is that correct?
Yes.
So fair to say the
Scott McGinnis.
information that had been collected by yourself and the other troopers on January 29th, you had that in mind, or you were aware of that when you were involved in these text communications with your friends, correct?
Yes.
And so were you, at that time that you're texting with your friends, you had seen the defendant's vehicle?
Correct. Yes.
You had seen the damage to the taillight, correct?
Yes.
And you were aware that Lieutenant Tully and the CERT team had conducted a search around 34 Fairview and recovered Mr. O'Keefe's sneaker and tail.
Objection.
Sustained as to form.
What, if anything, were you aware of in regard to Lieutenant Tully doing with the search team at 34 Fairview earlier that day?
Detective Lieutenant Tully and the search team conducted a search, discovered several pieces of broken taillight pieces, as well as Mr. O'Keefe's missing shoe.
And the shoe that Lieutenant Tully and the search team had retrieved, what, if anything, did you observe in relation to that and the shoe that you and Sergeant Mechanic had retrieved from the Good Samaritan Hospital?
Yeah, they were matched. They were both black Nike sneakers with the white logo.
Now, you had talked to first responders, correct?
Yes.
And that included firefighter Flamati,
Correct.
and that included Sergeant Good.
Yes.
You had done interviews with regard to Brian Albert, correct?
Yes.
Jennifer McCabe, correct?
Correct.
Matthew McCabe, correct?
Yes.
The defendant
Yes.
and other troopers from your unit had also interviewed Kelly Roberts, correct?
Yes.
Are you aware of statements that were attributed by Ms. Roberts and Ms. McCabe to the defendant as far as what she told them earlier that morning?
Yes.
And you aware of statements that Ms. McCabe and Ms. Roberts had made to troopers in regard to what they had observed that morning?
Yes.
Now, were you aware that both Ms. McCabe and Ms. Roberts indicated in interviews on January 29th that when they had got to 34 Fairview Road, they could not see Mr. O'Keefe's body? However, the defendant sort of bolted out of the backseat of the vehicle directly over to Mr. O'Keefe's body.
Objection.
You can ask that differently, Mr. Lally.
With respect to the statements from Ms. McCabe and Ms. Roberts in regard to their arrival at 34 Fairview around 6 a.m. in the morning, what, if anything, stood out to you
No,
that you were
Scott
aware of,
McGinnis.
in relation to those statements?
Yeah, from those statements, as Ms. Roberts was driving down Fairview, Ms. McCabe was in the passenger seat, Ms. Reed was in the back. Obviously, whiteout conditions as they're coming down like that slight hill, getting just before the left side of the property. Ms. McCabe and Ms. Roberts indicated that. Ms. Reed said, "There he is. I see him." And Ms. McCabe and Ms. Roberts didn't know what Ms. Reed was talking about. They stopped the car. Ms. Reed ran directly over to John O'Keefe's body. And even when Ms. Reed had exited the vehicle, Ms. McCabe and Ms. Roberts still didn't know what was going on and what she was running to.
Now, were you aware from your conversation with firefighter Flamati that the defendant had stated, I hit him, in the presence of firefighter Flamati earlier that morning?
Yes.
And were you also aware of statements the defendant made to other first responders about her getting into an argument with Mr. O'Keefe as she was dropping him off at 34 Fairview, indicating the last time she saw him?
Later on, subsequent interviews.
So at the time that you're sending these text communications within this group chat in the later part of the evening of January 29th, 2022, what is it that you did know in relation to your investigation with regard to Ms. Reed, the defendant, and or anyone else?
All right. So,
Sorry.
Your assessment, personal
Here's some
assessment.
redirect.
And Karen Reed had struck this officer with a car, gave you license to call her a cunt.
objection.
Right?
Based on the evidence, sir, then my motions got the best of me. So it was in poor taste. Yes, it was it was inappropriate, juvenile, but it was my motions that got the best of me.
And you called her a whack job. Gave you license to call her that too.
Yes,
Gave you license to say to your friends, oh, no. She's fucked. Right?
that's what I wrote.
Gave you license to say that she's a retard.
Again, another disgusting comment.
Sir, you had an agenda from moment one, did you not?
Objection.
Did you have an agenda?
Objection.
Same question.
That was a good one the first time. So the fact that you believe personally that your narrative was she hit him with a car, you get to talk about her leaky balloon mount, right?
Objection.
You indicated on cross-examination that you saw a video at 8:22 a.m. with some damage to Ms. Reed's right rear tail, correct?
Yes.
8:22 before or after 5:07 a.m.?
After.
Twat. You also said that you had no idea where Kevin Albert lived, right?
Correct.
But you did say about getting his badge to him after that drunken night with him, that you just leave it in your mailbox, right?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Yes, my mailbox.
Yeah. So he obviously knew where you lived.
Yes.
And then you said, there's no evidence whatsoever, your words, no evidence whatsoever. You talked about Brian Albert, Brian Higgins, Colin Albert, no evidence whatsoever that they were involved in the death of John O'Keefe, right?
Correct.
Trooper Proctor, you're the one responsible for gathering the evidence, correct?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Right?
I am one part of a greater group of detectives that gathers evidence. I'm just one part of that unit.
You're the pointy end of the spear, aren't you?
Objection.
You're the case officer, the lead detective, correct?
Yes.
Sort of like the fox guarding the hen house, isn't it?
Objection.
That's sustained, Mr. Jackson. Do you have anything else?
And his name is John C.
This guy.
Next witness, Mr. Lally.
Yeah, sure. Call
Get
Lieutenant Brian Tully to
the
stand.
fuck out!
All right, so all right, so that's it for Trooper Proctor. Now some other stuff happened. Some other stuff took place where there was a hearing today for Jill Daniels, I believe, and Jim Ferris. Let me see real quick. Now, I don't really know exactly what happened from that, but it was a closed hearing. But I have thoughts on that because I wonder. I'm of the opinion that this is going to be really, really interesting because we know the feds are watching. We know this, and it seems as though Chief Rafferty is doing everything that she can to avoid prosecution on Jill Daniels or Jim Ferris. Now, it's very interesting to me that this is taking place because there's video evidence. The problem is that the video evidence was captured by Turtle Boy, and he is the victim in this case. I find that incredibly fascinating because I'd like to see what happens when Michael, because here's the thing is Michael Morrissey's Norfolk County District Attorney's Office is going to be who prosecutes this case. So they're trying to, apparently there was a probable cause hearing, but the probable cause is already established. The police have already established probable cause because there's video evidence. That's why they were charged. The probable cause was determined once the evidence was reviewed by charging officers. So, I'm fascinated that all right. I just don't see a scenario where you don't charge these people and not look corrupt. I just don't see it, especially considering everything that we know about the McAlberts, everything we know about Chris Albert. The fact that Chris Albert owns D&E Pizza and he sits on the Canton Select Board and his driver, his right hand at that shop, is being charged with assault. And let's find out. Let's find out. Not just him, but Jill Daniels as well. So I wonder if they're going to be so fucking bold as to actually try to not have this case charged. Are they going to try to say that Turtle Boy instigated the whole thing? By doing what? Having dinner with his girlfriend? After doing his job? I think that's interesting. So, he also spoke about this. I'll just go ahead and play this.
So I interviewed a juror. I have a complete interview with them in writing. We're not going on camera yet. They completely believe in Karen Reed's innocence, to be clear. And I had a lot of questions for the juror. And not to disappoint you guys or anything like that, but they don't feel comfortable yet talking about the specifics of the deliberations yet. So I know a lot. That's probably the juiciest shit you're looking for is what happened behind closed doors at deliberations. For now, at least on the record, they're not going to comment on that, right? And we explain why in the interview. However, they have a lot of stuff to say about other stuff, and I ask people to.
All right, before I continue that, let me piggyback off of Scott McGinnis's thought here, because here's the problem: is that the Canton Selectman who was there, he's on video threatening Turtle Boy at the same exact incident in question. He's on video threatening Turtle Boy. And not only is he on video, we have an admission of guilt because at a select meeting, Chris Albert apologized for his actions. He apologized. Now, whether or not the apology is even is genuine or it's full of shit, whatever, we know it's full of shit, but it doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is that whether the apology is genuine or not, the admission of guilt is there. Because why would you feel the need to publicly apologize for something if you did nothing wrong? The admission of guilt is absolutely there. So you have his admission of guilt, you have him on video, and then you have these other two on video. So I'm going to be real interested to find out what Michael Morrissey's office is going to do about this when these people have to be charged, because they have to be charged. Chris Albert's probably not going to be charged, but Jim Ferris, Jill Daniels, definitely. And they should be charged. They absolutely should be charged.
To submit their questions. If I could talk to a juror, what would you say? And I submitted a lot of questions to the juror, and they had some pretty interesting things to say, as you're going to see, especially about the federal involvement or lack thereof, what they knew about that, what they didn't know, what they thought of Auntie Bev, what they thought of Lally, what the most compelling witness was. Some interesting stuff in there. So I did get an interview with the witness, and because I am real media, I mean, this witness could have sought out any reporter. They sought out me. They trusted me to get the story out, and they are happy to tell what they think happened.
I love that. I love that because if anybody should get that exclusive interview with one of the jurors, it should be Turtle Boy. Turtle Boy has uncovered more truth in this case and reported more truth in this case than any other reporter. That is a fact. That's not even speculation. That's not even an opinion. That is a fact. That Turtle Boy is responsible for making more facts in regards to this case public than any other reporter working for any other news station or any independent reporter. Nobody has done what Turtle Boy has done with this case. That is a fact. So Turtle Boy should absolutely be the one to get this exclusive interview with this juror. And I'm really glad that he's doing it. And I am looking forward to hearing it. Yeah, it's not a matter of opinion. It's not a matter of opinion. So it's going to be very fascinating because the stuff that he talked about, the stuff that he discussed with this juror allegedly is going to be stuff that I really want to hear about. Now, he did mention that they're probably not going to discuss the deliberations, and that's cool. I don't need to know that right away, but I am curious as to just this one juror. I'm curious enough just to hear this one juror and why this juror feels that Karen Read is innocent. What was it that made this juror form the opinion that Karen Read is innocent? And I'd love to just hear their brain being picked as far as their experience of being a juror and listening to the trial and listening to the so-called evidence. So I'm very interested in that. But I am going to go ahead and wrap this up, folks. I don't know whose testimony I'm going to go over next, but I'm sure I will do so at some point tomorrow. And I just love hanging out with you guys. So I'm glad I found something to hang out with you guys over and discuss, and because there's just a lot of information now with this case that again makes the it hits different with the stuff that we know now. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that stuff. I've got I'm going to go. I'm going to start fresh in exploring the Sandra Birchmore case as well. The next time I talk about that, the plan at least is to simply just start fresh, go over the timeline, and we'll discuss it, and then let things evolve from there as far as spreading information. And of course, we're going to continue to cover the hearings that are taking place in regards to that case. And of course, as things progress with the Karen Reed case, I'll keep you guys up to date on that stuff too. But and there's new charges for Krusty Panties. Oh, okay. That's okay. We'll go over that at some point too. Yeah. This is the craziest shit I've ever seen. I've never been involved in a case that was anything like this. And yeah, I don't know what's going on with the merch stuff. I honestly don't. But yeah, this is the newest mug. So I hope you guys like it. Just keep trying the website, I guess. But yeah. Anyways, guys, you guys are absolutely fantastic. I love you guys very much. And we will do this again very soon, my friends.